Hola, Manuel Barrera, Meme, Manny to some, Manny. Uh, I had already done what I believed to be a good video. I had a short clip from George Lopez in the middle, but then when I went to YouTube, it said, "Oh, you can publish it, but nobody's gonna be able to see it." So back to the drawing board. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say whatever I was gonna say. Of course, I didn't write anything down, so I'm not gonna say the exact same thing, but I do remember some of it. The first part, you know, there's a Latino blogger that has been blogging for years. He's a political consultant. And today, in regards to the apology that Sheila Jackson Lee, and by the way, I voted for Sheila Jackson Lee, this is what he had to say. And this consultant is paid staff of John Whitmire. He said, "What bullshit." This is in reference to her apology. Political operatives didn't put this out. It was from her former employees. She is a vile and mean person. Folks know that. She also doesn't have standards. Never has, never has, never will. You know, I don't know where he gets off saying things like that, but let me tell you, I know some of those people that he calls friends, and one of them that's an elected official. I remember the first time that I really met her. She was running for a state office, and I was in an organization and we were interviewing people. And I remember what I told the other two persons. I said, "She is the dumbest person I've ever met." But anyhow, no names there. But, you know, he has no business saying that. He's being paid by John Whitmire. He wants to push John Whitmire. You know what I don't hear any of them say is, what does what has John Whitmire done? He's done this, he's done that. Where's the proof? There is no proof because he hasn't done anything. But that's really not what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about this little clip from George Lopez, and it has to do with Latino man. Although there's various sections, I'm only going to put a little short one. And when I was watching it maybe 2, 3 nights ago, I could not stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing because maybe it wasn't that funny. He was talking about me. He was talking everything that he said, almost everything was me. So after you listen to the clip, you think about that. And so I'll say this beforehand, before you watch the clip. Uh, when I believe it was 1969, I was at Oklahoma State University, and I received a letter from the draft board, Corpus Christi, saying that I had to go for a physical. Well, I went to a physical there in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and that doctor that they had to have been one of the biggest guys I've ever seen. Not only was he tall, he was fat. He had fingers like, just imagine. And anyhow, during the physical, he tells all of us, "Lower your pants and bend over." I'm going, what the hell is this guy going to do? Well, I soon found out what he was going to do. And let me tell you, after that experience, when I go to a doctor, first time I meet that doctor to decide whether I want to go or stay with that person, I look at their hands. If they got skinny little, small hands and skinny fingers, there's a good chance I'm going to pick them. Dentist, the same way. I want dentists to have small hands. I don't want those big old hands all over in my mouth. You know, hell, I don't like to put anything except food in there. And I do like to eat. That's why I'm overweight. But anyhow, you know, where I grew up, and that's in Molina, Corpus Christi, we, we were tough. We had to be tough. We had to be tough to survive because if not, they would pick on you. Everybody would pick on you. And so, you had to fight. You had to be tough, and you learn how to do that from a very young age. You watch some of those movies, people, those youngsters training with wooden swords. Well, we didn't have wooden swords. We had sticks, and we hit each other. You know, Fireworks. Hey, let me tell you, black cats, those big old black cats, light them up, throw them at each other. Rockets, point them at each other. That's what that's what life was like. You know, when we played football, it wasn't flag football. It was tackle, no equipment. There's several. One guy got out of there with a broken collarbone, and a couple of people with broken arms. But that's just the way it was. And so it's you know you have to have grown up in an environment like that. It was not a bad environment. In fact, most of us survived, except the ones that wound up going to Vietnam. Too many of them died over there, and too many of them came back hooked on drugs. We didn't use drugs, but when they came back, they were hooked on drugs. And so some of them were in and out of trouble. Some of them got killed because of that afterwards. But you know, drugs was really not were not used. Drink, yeah, we did drink. I think I was one of the ones that started drinking at a later age. I might have been 14, but because everybody else that I hung around with, they started much younger. But that's life. That's the life that I knew, and so I grew up that way. Junior high, I probably had a fight a week. High school, I might have had maybe 4 or 5 fights during high school. In fact, I wound up meeting my best friend because of a fight. I got into a fight as we're getting into a bus, and somebody got in line in front of me, and I did not like it. I told him to move behind me. He wouldn't move. When we got inside the bus, we got into it. One of his friends jumped and in, and this guy that I did not know, Gino, his real name was Genaro, but Gino jumped in and took took on the other guy. So after that, we became best friends. We hung around together until after high school. He got married almost right after high school. In fact, he was valedictorian, except at that time we didn't have no Princeton's, Yale's, or Harvard going through our schools looking to see who was smart, who wasn't smart. He was given $100 and said, "Good luck." That was it. And the counselor, he would tell us, "Don't waste your time going to college. You're not going to find a job here in Corpus Christi." And he was correct because there were no jobs for people that looked like us. Not in Corpus Christi, not at that time. So it's but we survived. In fact, after high school, I went to Del Mar Tech. I got a degree in auto mechanics. That's my son making a lot of noises over there. He's autistic. Mikey, stop, stop, Mikey. Uh, I went to Del Mar Tech. Actually, my first degree is a degree in auto mechanics. Uh, while there, I asked our instructor, how much he made, and he told me, and I go, heck, he makes a lot more money than my dad, and he wears a white lab coat all day, doesn't get dirty or doesn't seem to do anything. So I said, "Where'd you go to school?" And he told me. So I said, "Okay." Took the ACT, got accepted, went to Oklahoma State, and I would have stayed there and I would have graduated, but out of state tuition was tough. I needed to work. That's the only way I could afford going to college. Uh, but I applied for the ROTC program. I wanted to be a pilot. Actually, I applied with the Marines, and they turned me down. So after a year and a half, I transferred to the University of Houston. Over here, it's much easier to get jobs. And so I did. I got a job and I got some small loans, which I paid off about maybe 2, 3 years after I finished college. But listen to that George Lopez tape. And I can tell you right now, I was 65 before I started getting my physicals. My wife used to beg me to go get them every year. And I said, when I hit 65. So I've been pretty good at it. Every year I go. She doesn't have to nag me. She doesn't have to do anything. I go every year. But there's one thing. Whatever they say, colonoscopy, or whatever the heck that is, I tell them, no way. That ain't going to happen. Not to this guy. I'll die before that happens. And I will die before that happens because it ain't never going to happen. And so, but one more thing. Here in Houston, when I first came to Houston, uh, uh, this guy who was a friend of someone from that we knew that had moved up here to Houston, he asked me if I wanted to go to a dance, you know, and I said, sure, why not? And I believe it was the Pan American, could have been at Stardust, but it was over there near the Moody Park. And so anyhow, we went over there, and after a while, I noticed he was gone. The dance ended. I couldn't find him. So finally, I went up to a policeman that was there, and I asked him, "Hey, do you happen to see a guy that about yay tall? He was wearing this." He goes, "Yeah, they took him to the hospital." And I go, "Why?" He said, "He got stabbed." I kind of rolled my eyes and I go, "What the hell did he do?" But anyhow, he survived that stabbing. He did get stabbed. The knife missed his heart by about an inch. And so when I saw him again, I asked him, "What happened?" He says, "Well, I went to the car and I saw this guy's trying to steal a battery." I said, "Was it our battery?" He goes, "No." I said, "So why in the hell did you get in? Say anything to him." "Well, they shouldn't be stealing." I go, "It was not our battery." "How many of them were there?" "Three." I said, "There's three of them and one of you. It ain't your business. Walk away." But and I think he learned that. But anyhow, that's enough talking on my part. Bye.